Hey, well, guess what we're going to talk about?
Nothing.
No thing. It's been so if there's no thing, there can't be any time for it to appear in anyway. So we're not going to take up any time. It'll all be in this immediacy, this spontaneous, ever fresh presence awareness. As they say, just this, nothing else. It means exactly that. That which to me is appearing as that on the screen, Malcolm, Hyman, Kavita, Megan, is just this, nothing else. And the one that's the speaking that's happening here is just this, nothing else. Speaking, seeing, hearing, tasting, touching, smelling. The functioning is going on. And our problem is we take it to be done by a person, an individual, a separate entity. And when that idea is there is something separate, there is such a thing as a person or an individual, what have you done? We've seemingly divided the individual, the undivided, into things. But they tell us clearly and loudly in all the great traditions. Non-dual, it is one without a second. And they put that without a second. I'm not talking about the word second as in time, but without the other, not two. One without a second is not two. And how is there going to be any count go on if it doesn't start with one? And when the next one comes up, two. That's seemingly divided. So it's the one appearing as the other and as everything. And that's what we need to keep in mind, keeping in the awareness, which you can't separate it from anyway. And see, there's no division, there's no separation. There's nothing other than the one. Now, can that one, if there is all there is, no matter how it's appearing or expressing, can that ever get into any trouble? Or have any problems? Or have any division or any separation? If it's absolute, can't have any of those things. And they tell you, and we need to understand, that's all there is the absolute. And they put it in Buddhism, the great perfection. And the great perfection is non-conceptual awareness. And without awareness, without any of these concepts or words, and the concepts and words can appear to be there, but as long as they're not believed in. It's the belief in something as separate and divided that creates all the problems. So you, me, and everything else is a non-conceptual, ever-fresh presence awareness. And that awareness is ever-fresh, it's timeless. It can't get stale or lost or slowed down if it's timeless, isn't it? It's spontaneous. And see that, it's all spontaneous, beginningless and endless, timeless, spaceless, bodiless, mindless. All these labels can appear, but can any of them corrupt it or contaminate it in any way, shape or form? We put the energy belief in it into the personal so-called entity and the other, that where the corruption can take place. in the seeming division, in the seeming separation. And if there's no separation, and you are ever and always the absolute, what needs to be done? They must realise nothing can be added to it, nothing can be taken away. Leave it just as it is, unaltered, unmodified, uncorrected, and just realise also that it's transient. It's not time-bound. It doesn't have a beginning, a middle, or an end. It's spontaneous. What's spontaneity mean? It's beginning right now, and it's ending right now. And if you try and grasp this now, I'm going to grab right now and stay in the right now. Even as you're saying it, it's moved on. And you've got to say, renew it, say it's now again, it's now again, it's now again. And when's it ending? And you realise even the ending, it hasn't got time to end, being spontaneous. It's beginningless and endless. The endless is in the beginning, and the beginning is in the end. No duration to it whatsoever. What we're trying to point out here is there's nothing you can ever grasp or grab hold of and say, I've got it, or this is it. Though it already and ever is that. We put that on the isness. This is that. That is this. Ever and already is what is, unaltered, unmodified, uncorrected. No preference, no partiality, no comparison. No static point where you can fixate on. Where's this I that we believed ourselves to be? What's the static point? Where does it start? Try and grab a point to it and say it starts here. As soon as you said that, it's gone, isn't it? Because that here is already moved on to here again, now again, here again, now again, ever present. No static point means there's no beginning. No static point, if it's spontaneous, means there's no ending. But it still is. Anybody sitting there who is not right now, and make me know, I can't say I am not, I am. This is what I am. Is what I am. See how the words can confuse us when we believe in the words? We take a set position with them, gives us a stance at some point, which we seemingly function from, then what happens? When we seemingly suffer from that point, life, as we know it, has left us behind. Because life is ever fresh, ever free, ever spontaneous, and ever transient, ever changing, constantly changing, right now in this so-called nowness or moment. It's not the same life that was there, if you like to call it a moment ago, which you can't. Not the same life as it was. There's no wasness there either. So life is ever changing, ever transient, ever fresh, ever new, ever spontaneous. And if it's all there is, what must you be? Well, like Christ was, you can say, I am the life. I am the life. That's what I am. I am life. Life is what I am. And then we've got this other concept, which is opposite. We call it death. How can life ever know death? Can you ever, when you look at this life that you are, can you say you began? You might have a belief that you were born and you began at such and such. You can put a concept on this so-called time, put a word on it, a date and a year and a country. They're all labels. So you see, the timeless time is spontaneous, ever fresh, ever beginning, ever changing. We know, use the analogy of the ocean. The ocean is never changing, yet it's ever changing. You see, there'll be times when it can be movement still, but there'll be other times there'll be ripples on it, waves, things like that. It's still only water. Never change. So high tides, low tides, all displays in many different ways. But all it is a couple of gases coming together. Hydrogen and oxygen, isn't it? Coming together like the fluid or liquid water. And we put the name word water on it. We put the label hydrogen, oxygen, put all these labels on it. But the word or the label is not the thing. And that's what we try and grasp it and make seeming things out of that which in reality is no thing. It's constantly transient. So there's no static thing there at all. Never was, never will be. So we call it emptiness, or we say it's no thing or nothing. When we bring it to the nothing, we've taken on the idea that it's empty, it's a void. It's not absolutely a void, a vacuum. But we don't mean that. We just mean there's really no thing appearing, patterning, shaping, forming, expressing as everything. And the everything is not good enough. So we put another label on bodies, minds, trees, flowers, me, you, gas, planets, stars, space. Everything that we've labelled is really no thing. And the Buddha called it a cognizing emptiness. It's emptiness. And he made the statement then that this cognizing, we are not cognizing the emptiness, which we believe we are. But it's the emptiness itself has that capacity of knowing or awareing or cognizing. And he called it a cognizing emptiness. It's the emptiness that's cognizing. And he made the statement then, the emptiness is form. In that cognizing or knowing, that pattern, shapes and forms, you, me, and everything in the manifestation. And he also pointed out that the form can be nothing other than the emptiness. It never was, never could be, never will be anything other than the emptiness. So all and everything is that one cognizing emptiness appearing as everything. So there's no separation for a thing to be separate and isolated and alone. Everything is the no thing, and the no thing is the everything. Now, there's never any division, never any separation. And that's where what our life is consisting of and has consisted of. The belief that we are separate entities. We are persons. We are human beings. We are this, that, and the other. We are bodies, minds, thoughts, feelings, emotions. But it's all only the everything appearing as difference. So, if it's everything, how many enemies can you have? How many brothers, sisters, parents? How many animals, insects or birds can you have? Appears to be myriads. But try and separate yourself from any of it. Now the appearance is there. The appearance, I see pictures of you on the screen here. And that's Those periods seem to be miles and miles away from where I'm sitting. But that appearance in the screen is an image on the screen. Now, you are in a room somewhere. Oh, look what's on the screen. And you're sitting in a room, sitting in a chair, that you appear to be on the screen. But where you are sitting, that image, that screen you're appearing on, you can't say you're not there. But go up to the screen and try and grab the image or the reflection, or however it's being photographed or whatever, out of that screen. And you realise you can't, because you come away with nothing. You can't say it's not there, but it appears to be. And even though you try and grab it and can't grab it, it still appears to be there. Even if you shatter the glass on the screen and break it, in every sliver of glass there'll be an appearance of it, or a partial appearance of it, but can't contain light. So you see, the image is not the reality. You're still sitting in the chair in a room somewhere on there, untouched, unscathed by the pattern. That pattern you were pleased with. What's going on in that pattern? The thinking, the feeling, and the emotions, and the hurts, all that is going on in it makes it appear, again, to be separate and something that is not you. But it's all appearance, a phenomenal manifestation. And the dictionary definition on phenomena, that word I give a meaning to, put the meaning in the dictionary. The definition of phenomena is that which appears to be. In other words, appearance seems. It seems to be real. Doesn't it? Looking in the screen, I see you. You're seemingly real. You're seemingly there. You're moving. You can see the movement's going on. And things are changing in the room. But it's only all appearance. None of it is the actual. But the essence of it all, that which is pulsating, throbbing, bringing about the changes, the transiting, what we like to call, for want of a bit of a term, awareness, or you can call it the godliness of you, or whatever. Put all sorts of concepts and labels on that. Is not the imagined, not what's imaged in. The images are not real, but the reality, appearing as the pattern, shape and form, break it down to its natural essence, is pure awareness or knowingness. Or I call it, don't use the term God, I call it intelligence energy. Intelligence being a knowing. You are intelligence, you're knowing. And the things you know are in that intelligence. The stars, the planets, and all are intelligence. And the other part of it is energy. Energy is an activity, a movement. And everything in this manifestation is sentient, it's constantly changing. Your incoming breath, your out breath, the heartbeat, the thoughts, the eyes blinking, the fingers and the hair growing, are all transient, changing. But they're all vibrating patterns of energy. The earth, the stars, and all this can be broken down into subatomic particles and atoms, subatomic, whatever they are, quarks or whatever, pure energy. And they're vibrating into other patterns, shapes and forms. And when you hear things like Nisargadatta is saying, there's nothing can trouble you except in your own imagination. And you question that word imagination and realise when you break it down, it's imagine or imaging in. And you're reminding that's what we're doing. That's what's functioning in this body. Mentally, with thought or intelligence, it's vibrating as thought. Mentally into ideas, images, mental construct. So when they say it's all Maya, it's all illusion, it's not so hard to understand when you break it down then. But we don't. We take this looks to be real, this looks to be solid. I can grab this body and pat it and all it seems to be very solid. Seems to me. And what I can see of it, it's seemingly so unseen. Put it under a microscope. I'll get a different take on it altogether. There'll be great holes and great things. It won't be as solid as it seems. And that goes for everything. That can all be broken down into this presence awareness. Now awareness has no shape, no centre, no circumference, no form, no body, no mind. But you can't negate it. See if you can go and say, are you unaware right now? And you realise you don't have to be a road scholar to realise it, you know? Just as you're sitting there, no, I'm not unaware. I am knowing. There's a knowing here. I say I am knowing, but that's the wrong take. But they say there's a knowing here, a being here, a knowing here. And I love to be. There's a loving to be. I want to be. We want to be in this life. And we realise we must be expressing through this pattern, this thing we call the human body. That's what it's expressing through. And where do you see the human body or the person? And the person comes from persona, an ancient language where the meaning of person was different. It meant a mask. It's the meaning that they even knew back then. That we're making a conceptual or a thought-up mask which we're hiding behind and taking on the entity with separate entities, individuals or persons. And that person or persona, when we learn the word from our parents and we take it to be real without questioning it, I am Bob, this person. And reinforce it day in and day. And our parents reinforced it for us. We went to school and they reinforced it. So it's seemingly solid. All this reinforcement going on day in, day out, year after year, not just by ourselves, but for all our peers and people around us and everybody reinforcing it also. Because there's very few found their way out. But there are some who have formed the great traditions in this manifestation, pointing out that it is the one essence, patterning, shaping, forming, appearing and expressing in everything. And pointing out that this thing, if you like to call it by that label of God, is one God. It's not many gods like they have in different traditions. They'll have many, many different gods. It's the one God, the one intelligence energy, that I call it. That one activity of knowing. And it can express and pattern in myriads and myriads of shapes and forms. But it's never left its true nature, which is the one essence or soul. And we've taken that to be S-O-U-L, when all it really means is soul, one, S-O-L-E, the alone, the alone, the oneness. Only the oneness, expressing as everything. Have a look along those lines, see for yourself, get the taste of it for yourself and grasp it for yourself. And if there's only one, who is there, what is there, and how is there anything at all that can trouble you? When the imagination is left to sleep, it'd be like, just as the Saga tells you, nothing can trouble you except your own imagination. And unless you're taking on somebody else's imaging also, which we do, without questioning it ourselves, we're taking on what our parents told us and believe it was our imaging. But we can't remember your birth. So how can you say I begin? Not just we're taking on that imagination, imagining, Drop back to where it's not there, where you don't believe in it, or not yet like. See what your troubles are then. See if there are any troubles then. Won't mean to say that the pairs of opposites won't crop up. Then you won't put the same proper labels on it. Fear, anger, depression, guilt, shame, remorse. But if there's no energy belief going on into them to make them seemingly real, they're like a fangless tiger. You take the fangs out of a tiger, not going to hurt you too much, is it? But while you got those fangs on in it, they're going to rip you apart, and they do. And see that, like Shakespeare told you, nothing either good or bad, but thinking makes it so. Well, how are you going to knock into the pairs of opposites when you see the whole of the manifestation is constantly vibrating into those opposites, day, night, winter, summer, silent, sound, even still, here, there, up, down, within, without. All are opposites, which are bound in the words, in the label. And nothing can trouble you except your own imagination, and the great perfection is non-conceptual awareness. Without putting in it, all those words I just used are concepts. And the concept, when you look at it, investigate it, is a mental construct. The so-called mind has formed the concept or image of what these words were, and bound up by all these concepts, and allowed of the non-conceptual, ever fresh, ever present, timeless, spaceless, bodiless, mindless awareness. Not divided at all. It comes back to being the one essence, only the one. And when they talk about the one, the non-dual, they describe it as one without a second. One without a second, so you won't get caught in the words. Because what's the second? Isn't it two? After one comes two. And after two comes three. And it's doubled and trebled and go on and on. But one without a second. You see that it hasn't got a second. There is nothing other than the one. Again, where does that lead? Have another look. Am I here right now? Am I present? Well, you can't say that. You can say I am present, but leave that I out of it. I meaning the one again. There is presence right here where this I appears to be. Is that presence unaware? And you're going, no, it's not. This I, believe I'm going to live with you, is not unaware. So it's not unaware, it can only be awareness. Because it's awareness and not awareness. Seeing and not seeing. It's hearing and not hearing. If I'm present, am I conscious right now? Well, I'm not unconscious. So I must be conscious. I'm existence. Am I existing right now? I am existing. I'm not the non-existent. Am I happy to be? Yeah. I'd rather be here, alive and present and aware, rather than be a corpse that can't see, hear, taste, touch or smell or think, or do anything. And the body that it's expressing through is now a useless pattern. Because the life essence is breaking it down, rotting it, and the integrations have stopped where it was, and then intelligence is forming new cells replacing it. Now it's breaking the cells down with the bacteria and all the rest where it rots. It breaks it down, and where does it all go? It goes back into the emptiness, into the cognizing emptiness. And other patterns, shapes and forms can appear, and will appear, and express. But they're no more real than this one is. The reality in the essence of them all, within the existence, within the consciousness, and with the happiness to be, the being, knowing and loving to be, or awareness of being is bliss, or have an affectionate awareness of being. You put it many different ways, not just the one, many different ways. And get the realisation and recognition out of each one, each term you put it in. And you can't help but recognise or realise, I can only be that I am. I am that. And I can only be that. You can't say, I am not. Because the very saying of it enables, there is a presence there that's enabling to be expressed through that pattern. And that presence is life. When the life's not there, the body's a corpse. It's not expressing too many thoughts, feelings or emotions or words without the life. But as the life, it can move, can see, can hear, taste, touch, jump, smell, walk, do all of these things. Thinking happens. So the life that's functioning through it and utilising that pattern we call the body, which it needs to express through, is that what all it is. It is only life. And there's nobody or no person or thing living the life. Life is living of itself. Its natural function is living. And out of that life, more life forms. That's living, vibrating, patterning, shaping and forming. More life. Just like the water in the river. It's constantly flowing. It comes down as rain, and the rain falls into pools, the pool falls into puddles, the puddles into going down a hill somewhere will form into ripples, into streams, into rivers, and it'll flow down to the lower portion to the ocean, where the ocean is further down. And do you think you'll ever get that same water out of the river again? No way in the world. The same drop, each drop that formed the river, they've all merged into one and intermingled with each other. So you'll never get the same drop of water out of the ocean again. But out in the ocean, what it'll do, the sun will evaporate the water. The water will rise as steam and cool down and form different patterns of water, different shapes, different forms. So the continuity seemingly goes on, the continuity of the expressions. But it's never the same again. It's always transient, it's always constantly changing. It's the same seeming elements that make it up, same gases, but you never get the same gas again. Constantly transient. So you've got this life here and now, which is a unique experience. It's a unique pattern. Look into it, recognize it, and see what the potential is there. Instead of sitting around as poor, miserable human beings that are suffering accordingly, not liking what we got, not enjoying, not being open to it, to let it move on, to let it express freely and openly. And that's when you'll see, when all the habitual fears and anxieties and stresses are out of the way, it can be joyous, a joyous, happy and peaceful and wondrous expression. Now, it's not going to be like that all the same. It's transient like everything else. 1 minute it'll be there, next minute it can change. But the depression and unhappiness, unless it's fixated on, that'll move on just as easy and quickly as the good times move on. Everything is constantly changing if it's left to change. But we don't leave it as it is. We fixate on it. Think we know better. Think we can bring about the changes. Think we investigate this or do this or work this out in the mind. We'll bring about the changes that are necessary. But you as the entity, the individual, the person, has never done anything. Never can or never will. It's the life that formed you. It is a life that's breathing you right now. It's a life that's digesting your food, growing your hair on your fingernails, breathing you, beating your heart. And that is what you are, that life essence. Be open to it and let it express in its fullness. But what we do when we put the labels and words on it and encage ourselves in the capsule of words, we take ourselves away from the wholeness into the little pattern, shape and form of a human being. And we put that on ourselves and labels, well, after all, I'm only human. When you see you're not keeping up with the way life is expressed, you give yourself the excuse. Well, after all, I'm only human. What if you're not? What if you are the totality? Even if you understand or recognize that, even for a little while, you've taken the boundaries of the limitations of yourself. You've expanded a bit out of it. Take them off altogether and see where you expand to. You can expand it to the stars and take in all the space in that expansion. Or you can continue to encapsulate yourself in this human pattern, shape and form and get miserable about it and unhappy about it and put the conceptual limitation on it. Start from the fact, whether you realise it or know it in this moment, start from the fact that you are that. At least if I am that, I don't have to try and find that. I'll have to see if what I'm saying is right. Am I that? Instead of trying to become something, start from that fact, but if I am that, how do I see it? And ask yourself, is there awareness there? Well, there is. Who's aware of it? And you can say, well, I am aware. You can put the I am with a sense of presence onto it, but you don't have to put that. See that it is awareness itself that's hearing, seeing, tasting, touching, smelling things. Everything is self-aware. It is the one self that's expressing everything. We are self-aware, but we don't believe that. We say it's me, the persona, the mask, myself. Instead of seeing the one self, the soul self, we're seeing it as myself, the personal self. Myself is aware. Put the limitations and boundaries on yourself. Don't do it. You don't have to do it. And a little bit of investigation, you can't help but see it. Because the saying, the truth is that the false cannot stand up to investigation. And you know that in your everyday life experiences. Looking at the world when you see something and really look into it. If it's the fact, you won't be able to look through it. It's the fact. But if it's false, you'll see through it. And it'll fall apart because it can't stand up to investigation. Now that one needs to happen. And the motivation will come from that which you call you or I. And it might be the fear and the anxiety, the stress, the guilt that'll make you look further. It might be the unhappiness or the sadness, or it may be it'll come upon you. I'm a little bit more than this. If I am this intelligent. But something within you, call it the great perfection or the awareness, whatever you like, will move you to look a little bit further. And in that looking, in that seeing, it opens up. Because the false cannot stand up to the investigation, the truth will be recognised. And you're in the seeing, if it opens up. And when it opens up, what's the difference? Then instead of seeing it or believing it, you know the truth. And in knowing that truth, you are free from the bondage of belief. So get into it. You are that. Any questions, any doubts, any arguments, don't hesitate to bring them up, put them up there. Somebody will fix it, answer it for you in one way or another, which might resonate or might not, but make it ask something else. Or it'll come to you and you'll explain it, or you will have some knowledge of it already through what's been experienced, and you'll be able to open up and answer that question and pass it on to others. But that's how it gets around. No use carrying it around forever or trying to carry it around. When you've got a full cup, you've got to pour a little bit out. If you don't pour it out, it's going to spill or stagnate or become cold. Or pour it out, you can refill it and it will refill itself. It's self-fulfilling. And you hear that statement. Self-fulfilling, not the personal self that's fulfilling it. It fulfills itself naturally and effortlessly. Some of these terms you hear take on a different meaning and recognise them. Allow them to express and have it. So where you go, I've had enough.
Have a sip.
Thank you, sweetheart.
Hello, Bob.
Hi, Malcolm.
Nice to see you again, and just resonating with what you're saying. And towards the end there, you're talking, Bob, about there is awareness ever present.
Yeah.
And it seems to me that that awareness has kind of been hijacked by thought or an I thought.
Well, they haven't hijacked it. They couldn't be there without it, but they appear and seemingly obscure it because the fixation goes into the feeling and the emotion, and awareness is left in abeyance as the background. But if without that awareness, there's nothing could appear. That awareness is the godliness in it, if you like, or the one essence. And what seemingly hijacks it is the word, the concept, or the idea, the feeling. That's the Maya, that's the illusion.
And that's what we fixate on.
Pardon?
And that's what we fixate on.
What we fixate.
I thought.
Yes, we fixate. Yeah. We've told that you were Malcolm, and you reinforce it yourself, and that's what we believe. So I am the persona here. Fixate in. Instead of I am the awareness. I am the totality. I am the absolute. We fixate on ourselves onto a limited pattern and form, a persona, a mask, a conceptual image.
Full stop. Full stop.
Good. It's yours. Take it. So you don't want to ask questions, you don't want to tell us your story. Just realise that you all might have full cups. It's going to stagnate. Get rid of some of it. Put it out there.
I could share a little bit more then, Bob, if you don't mind.
Yeah. Go ahead.
What it's been like, what's been like here, Bob, is it's almost like I've been searching for something. I've been searching around the whole of the house, and I haven't found anything.
Yeah.
So I've stopped looking around the whole house. Now it feels like I'm sitting in the corner of one little room, but sometimes still using the mind to try and find it.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, have a look at that, You've been looking, how often have you been looking for it? And you'd never found it. maybe it just might dawn on you, maybe I'm looking in the wrong place. I'm looking in here in a little corner of the mind, or this part of the mind. Maybe that's the wrong place. And then you might ask yourself, what way is there out of the mind? And the only way out of the mind, if everything is in the mind, the only way, don't go there, full stop. Pause a thought. Do whatever you can. Just not stop looking in the mind. And you don't have to try and grasp it with a concept, because that's where that's all that the mind is, concepts taking place. But it leaves you here forever fresh, present and aware. And then, without the mind, if it's in abeyance for a little while, then just in looking for that, the different thoughts might come up, it'll reveal itself. The so-called enlightening thought, if you like. It might come up as thought too. Thought's not the enemy.
Thank you, Bob.
Hi, Bob, if I can ask. Hi, Bob, can I ask?
Megan.
Megan, yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead, Megan.
When you were talking about staying fixed in human suffering or some kind of suffering or unwellness. I've been unwell for about 2.5 months and feel like I can't get myself out of it, and feel like a failure because I can't get myself out of it, even though I can go into the nothingness and the oneness. I still come back and I'm still unwell. And I feel like a failure because of that. The pattern of the unwellness is still there. Yeah, I don't know if there's anything you can say about that.
But what is the unwellness of you? Is it a medical problem?
Yeah.
Well, the doctors, they got some cure for it or some help?
No.
Might be give you something to ease the pain and trouble a bit, but then you see the mind then hanging on to it becomes overwhelming. You see,
Yeah.
you believe you can't get out of it. You're trying, and you're a failure, and all these other concepts come up. Now, it's the belief in the concepts that's got hold of you. The sickness is probably not getting any worse, is it?
No, it's getting a little better, but it's just taking a long time.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems a long time, but time, again, is a mental concept we're control of. Time seems longer than what it actually is. But just ask yourself, who is it happening to? You say, it's happening to me, Megan. Well, where or what is Megan? Are you the body? Are you the mind? When you investigate, you say, my body, my mind, just as like my coat, my car. You realise you can't possibly be the body or the mind. What are you going to label it onto then? If there's no body or mind to take it on board, where's it going to lodge? Can you pinpoint a place where it is now?
Mainly my heart is in distress. That's where my attention goes.
Your attention goes to your heart.
Yeah.
Where are you looking at that from? Where's your attention coming from that's looking into the heart? That's
I guess,
making the heart an object.
yeah, it's coming from my head, looking into my heart.
Well, go back and have a look. Whereabouts in the head is it coming from?
Like the front top part of the brain.
Yeah, can you pinpoint it?
Yeah.
Can you pinpoint it? Where are you looking at that from? Are you pinpointing it?
Oh, from awareness. Okay, right.
Yeah. So you see, you're looking at all those things. They're all images that you're taking to be real. When you look into them, you say the looking is always from somewhere else.
Okay.
So you say it's the awareness of seeing, it's the awareness of hearing, it's the awareness of doing it all. So, you know, your heart or your pain or whatever it is free to be healed then, if you're not fixating on it as some object.
Okay.
Look at
I
everything.
can.
So you can find no static point from whence ever it's beginning again. So there you are, without any static point. You are pure awareness then. Out of habit, it will seem to, oh, it's in my chest or it's here, there, and everywhere. You form that again. But when you look and try and find if there's anything solid or substantial there, you can't. And when you realise you can't, you must realise that, well, there actually is nothing there. If there was something, I'd be able to go into it and feel it, really, from there.
Right. Okay.
You see, good.
I'll have a look here. Right. Thank you.
Keep at it, have a look at it, and if it doesn't work, we'll come back and have another look.
All right. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Some more?
Anything to say?
I can repeat some of the old stuff. I can repeat some of the old stuff. Hi everyone, Bob is inviting me to help and kill the silence. Yes, so the one thing that came up when Malcolm was saying about, that was a nice analogy about going around the house and checking everywhere and then finding yourself in the one last room, and the tendency is still there to search, to check. That tendency, to recognize that tendency to move, and to recognize how inherently in the act of seeking, in the act of movement of attention, the stillness is being rejected. That what is being rejected as not good enough. Because to look for something else is to say that this is not it. And it is phenomenal because nobody does it. Like nobody chooses to reject the silence or to reject the what is. It is the tendency that is, it is so natural because we always, it kind of works when I go to the kitchen and I forget, oh yeah, gosh, well, I was going to do something, or I was going to say something, let me look, let me search the mind, and it is going to come up. Especially when I give up on it, it will come up. Or Bob is sometimes forgetting a word when he's doing crosswords, and then it comes up. So that seeking and searching and easing attention is a natural instinct. But just to remember that with the seeking comes, like, it is inherently rejecting that which is. It is saying that that which is right here, right now, is not it. It had to be something else, somewhere else, not this. Recognizing that resistance to what is easing that resistance, because the recognition of that resistance, wanting to find something different, wanting to find that I once knew what that awareness thing was. I just forgot. And what was it? No, the I never knows that. The I that thinks I knew it is part of the dream. The I can never know it because the I is a movement, it's a mask. And that stillness cannot be found through movement. It cannot be found because it is already there when the movement is absent. So when the seeking eases and relaxes, it reveals itself naturally because it has never been gone. And when that rejection of what is, and that idea that I am not it right now, and this is not it right now, when that idea dissolves like a cloud on the sky, again, the sky is there. Everything is as it is. That's why they say it's non-conceptual, ever fresh, presence awareness. When the cloud of ideas that this is not it, or this is not good enough, or I had it but I lost it, or I once knew it, or I have to find it, when all those clouds disappear, food. But, yeah, when those concepts dissolve into non-conceptual awareness, that's home. That's it. There is no problem in non-conceptual awareness, because the problem has to be conceptualized. There's nothing wrong unless we think that there is something wrong. We have to think something wrong into existence. We have to believe it into existence. When it is not believed into existence, it's not there. You better feed that cat.
Thank you.
You beast, hey?
That was beautiful, Kat. Thank you.
Thank you. Very, very controlling set of cats, very controlling siblings. So when we say the ego is so controlling, and you have the animal at home that demands being worshipped, and he tells you what he wants and when he wants it, you see how natural all that instincts are. This is all as it is in nature. It's only that the cat doesn't take credit for it, and we do. Cat doesn't argue with reality, it demands, it controls, it makes noise, and it doesn't say I'm doing it. it's just nature doing it. That's also my favorite way of Bob pointing into it, calling it natural state, as in nature. That makes it so simple, because that also drops any ideas that something has to be achieved or found or regained again or reclaimed or even remembered, because nature doesn't have that ideas. Tree doesn't need anything else than just to be as it is, or the sun, or the cat. Natural state, and it is always there. And it is there even when the conceptual thinking is arguing with it. Even if there is a cloud of thoughts, no, this is not it, I'm still isolated, I'm still separated, I'm still something else, I have to become. Even when that flood of nonsense is coming through the sky is never obscured. That's the beauty of it. It can never be lost. It can only seemingly be covered, but it's always there anyway, as in nature. That's why it can't be found also, because it hasn't been lost.
As it says in the Gita, the sword can't cut it.
Mm.
Fire can't burn it. The wind can't dry it. The water can't drown it. Why? Why can't it? Because it contains all of those things. None of those things can contain it. Oh, everything is contained in this presence of wind. We can't even grasp the presence of wind. You can't negate it either. To realise that there's only this presence, and you're not unaware in this presence. So you must be aware of the presence. And that sense of presence translates, break it down, translates into the thought, I am. And that's when our troubles start. Can't do much with I am. So we had concepts on it. I'm Bob, the Australian, the good fellow, not so good, the unhappy with the depressed, or the anxious, the person. And we were in all sorts of troubles. So we given ourselves the idea that this persona, this mask, conceptual image we've got, is something substantial, something solid, something real. But it's only made up of words. And the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God. All things were made by Him, by the Word. So God's only a word, and all the manifestation made of words. That's how it's translated as word. But the God is the absolute of the totality, and there's nothing other than that. It's the one essence, happening so before me and expressing and appearing as anything. Who can be separate from it? Who can be apart from it? Who can divide it? Investigate that. The body's made up of elements, air, earth, fire, water, space. Separate yourself from the elements. Stop breathing. See if you can live without the air. Take the water out of your body, which is about 80% water, the body. You soon get hypothermia and die. Take the fire, the body temperature. You soon die without that too, without the body temperature. So when you look at it, you can't separate yourself from the elements. And how real are those elements? Investigate them. They can be broken down into subatomic particles, into atoms, what other thing is?
Vibration.
Hmm?
Into vibration.
Yeah, just into a vibration, a movement of energy. So that's why I call it intelligence energy. That intelligence is vibrating. Everything is vibrating as an intelligence, the natural intelligence, innate intelligence. And that energy is. It's in the tree, it's in the flower, it's in the body, it's in the mind, in the planets, in the stars, everything. You are that intelligence energy. And that's the label we put on it, it's just another label. You can't say that's real too with the word. Take the word off it. And like the cats and dogs, they're just breathing, seeing, hearing, tasting, touching. And make sounds, but they've got no words. And those sounds can be translated into this is a call of danger, this is a call of food, this is a call of looking for a mate or something else. All the different calls the animals, birds and insects have. We've got a bit more sophisticated and learned words. And the learning of words have caused a problem for us. And they call it ignorance in the scripture. When we hear that word ignorance, what do you think? Oh, I think I'm dull, I'm stupid, I'm not good enough. It doesn't mean that at all. You are the pure intelligence, but it means we are ignoring. Instead of listening to it, focusing on it and understanding, we ignore it and go into the concepts. That's what the ignorance is, ignoring our true nature and focusing into the conceptual or imagined images or the fiction images we believe ourselves to be. And then we're in trouble. But there's no thought engraved in your skull. There's no cloud fixated in the sky. Clouds form, and in their forming, they can blot out the sun. When you realise the sun forms the clouds, is the sun going to deliberately blot itself out? It won't, and it can't, because no matter, the sun's so vast that it can never be fully obscured by clouds. There'll always be parts of it clear, empty. But when these concepts come up with us, then we've blotted out our true nature, pure intelligence energy, with the concepts. And the scriptures tell us, wait a minute, the great perfection is non-conceptual awareness. So you see what the problem is, conceptualizing. What's conceptualizing? Thinking. The Shakespeare tells us, nothing either good or bad but thinking, mate. We'll have a look at that. Question of thinking. What's my next thought going to be? Am I thinking? Can the thought I think actually think? Thinking is happening. It's translated by the thought I think. And the thought I think is just a vibrating pattern of energy. Can the thought I think? Shut your eyes and look, see how many objects you can see with the thought. You can label them all the things in the room, but you're not actually seeing them. If you put up the thought on, with your eyes closed, you're still not seeing. When you open your eyes, you say, that's the tree, that's the flower, that's the picture on the wall. But the thought, I think, hasn't thought up anything. Thinking happens. And I think, I see, I hear, I think this, and I think that. Other thoughts, concepts, ideas, images. But can there be the thinker, thinking, the thinker, thought, I think, without thinking? And you realise there can't be. The thinking's happening. It's translated as the thought, I think. There is no translation of the thought, I think. What thinking is there? Nothing. And that's why we say, what's wrong with right now if you don't think about it? Can't say it's good, bad, pleasant, playful, happy, sad, loving or hating or anything at all. So the thought I think has become the subject. Me, Bob, thought I thinks it's thinking. And what we're thinking, this is good, this is bad, this has become the object. So subject-object thinking has come into it. But can there be a thinker without thinking? There can't be. Can there be the thought without thinking? There can't be. So subject-object are fiction. They're just thoughts. But the actual function is the thinking. Do that with the seeing, the hearing, the tasting, touching, smelling. ING, because it's something that's happening, being right here, right now. It's not happening. It's a venting. It's a thinking or a knowing. Which all of these things, seeing, hearing, thinking, are divided into subject-object. We think there's a seer, hear, taster, toucher, or a thinker, but there's not. And that's our problem. If there's not a thinker, seer, what's doing it? It must be that life itself, that life energy, which when I'm not thinking, seeing, or hearing, I'm still breathing, heart still beating, hair and fingernails are still growing, food's being eaten, the functioning is going on without the seer, the hearer, the taster, the toucher, and smell. So it's all the functioning is naturally going on. That doesn't need to be related to the so-called subject, the seer, the hearer, the taster, the toucher, or other things. It's happening anyway. So if it's not being related to a seer, hearer, and there's just seeing, hearing, tasting, touching, smelling, it's non-dual then. It's just pure seeing, hearing, tasting, touching, smelling, functioning, being, knowing, loving to be. It's pure intelligence without the label. We put the conceptual label on it and divide it. And we've got a miserable seer, a hearer, a taster, a toucher, a smeller, a so-called miserable human being who doesn't want to see this or know this, or doesn't like this or hates that, wants the good times, wants, needs. It's believed in separately, wants, needs, and but all these problems. Does life itself need anything? As the sun, as the earth rolls around the sun right now, all sorts of things are going on. But is the earth going to stop and say, well, I'm going to stop off and have a good look at this, see if I can find it? It doesn't. It keeps rolling around the earth, around the sun. And the sun's not shining, saying, well, I'm going to light up this part, or make that part, it just shines. But the rolling of the earth around it is facing the sun. It's right into that light. When it rolls around the other way, it's facing away from it, it's dark. And the sun or the earth don't know anything about either. All darkness is the absence of light. And all light is the absence of dark. So when there's the absence of a seer, a thinker, a hearer, a taster, a toucher, a smeller, or a knower, it's just pure functioning, pure living. And it's very simple because it's single.
Hi, Bob.
Hi, Caron.
Hi, yeah, I like what you just shared. I've enjoyed all of tonight. Very clear pointers. And what you just said is, yeah, that's the experience here lately, just in the senses, just sensing. everything, not much thought. And thoughts come and go, but there's no attaching or identifying happening anymore. And then there is sometimes I catch myself thinking I'm an I again, and then I look and I go, well, can I find Carolyn? Can I find me? And I just can't. It doesn't matter how many times I cannot find anyone. So it's just an old habit that's still running that thinks it has to figure things out in life, and I'm watching it. It's quite amusing. And then when it lets go, it's just ease. Everything's just ease. Everything's unfolding with ease
Yeah.
because I'm out of the way most of the time. Well, there is no me, but you know what I mean. Yeah.
They call it the ease of being.
Yeah. It's just, I'm still struggling, not struggling, I'm still getting used to it. It's like being in a new, I don't know, car, and you're getting used to how it feels to just be. That you know, that old habit of thinking it has to figure something out is just erroneous. But it still seems to play out a little bit. But you've talked about that just lingers a bit, yeah?
Yeah. For a while it hangs around.
Yep.
We've reinforced it day in, day out for years.
Yeah, but if we reinforce I am and stay with that, and only that, then that drops, that'll just dissolve, like you say, move on of its own accord. Yeah.
The more it's let go of,
Yep.
the less you can fixate on it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good, Carolyn. Keep it up.
Yeah, I'll see you tomorrow anyway. But yeah, go back to the group. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Bob, that was beautiful, what you just said. And when Carolyn sort of picked up on it, there's such a great resonance with what you're saying. Simple. So simple.
Yes. Nothing simpler than one. It's not even one.
Yeah.
Not even one.
Yeah.
I'll just highlight that really quick because I do really love that way of pointing back into functioning, into taking away the subject-object duality instead of seer and the seen and hearer and the heard. It's just seeing, hearing, tasting, touching, smelling, thinking, seeking, all of it. If this is just seen as the movement, as the functioning, it is already seen from its opposite. So in this way, recognizing that seeking is still lingering, but there is no seeker. So there is no problem. There is no me who needs to do it. It's just the old habit of seeking, just like old habit of biting your nails or whatever the old habit would be. It's completely impersonal. It's just mechanical, just the same way digestion happens. So then it doesn't have to be medicated, it doesn't have to be fixed, it doesn't have to be stopped, it doesn't have to even dissolved because it's already recognized as nothing, as not important. The freedom from it is already experienced, because if there is no seeker who wants to find anything, just the movement of seeking, there is no desire, there's no problem. And of course, naturally, attention doesn't go there anymore, so it disappears. But that's at the point where it doesn't even need to disappear. It doesn't even need to, the search doesn't even need to end, because who cares? There is no one who cares. And also you said earlier that we try to grasp the awareness. We try to grasp the silence, the stillness, that tendency to grasp. That is again, grasp for what? For me. I want it. This is just to recognize that tendency again, to try and grasp, like, why the awareness can never ever be grasped in the concept? Well, because inherently is the awareness that does the whole appearing dancing. So how could it grasp itself? How can the eye see itself? And what you were quoting, Gita, how can the sword cut itself or the fire burn itself? It can't. So that's another reason to stop trying. Because it's impossible. It's even logically impossible to grasp what you are, or to grasp awareness, or to grasp emptiness. And it also demonstrates how all seeking ever happens only in the head. Because you sometimes, Bob says, yeah, you always look in the mind. But people may say, nah, I wasn't looking in the mind. I was looking in different talks and YouTubes and different books. I wasn't looking in the mind. Well, the act of looking by its nature is always only in the concept. Oh, what a gorgeous dog.
Yeah, he is.
Border collies.
Yeah.
Oh.
Hey, Kat, I resonate fully with what you just said.
Oh, wonderful.
Just watching that a lot, just a little bit of tendencies hanging around, thinking, figuring out, still seeking when there's nothing to seek, and then it relaxes and it's all good again. It's just, even if it's bad, it's good because there is none, no good or no bad. Yeah.
Yeah, I loved your sharing. It was just so natural, so just flowing out. And that was just so not you or anyone trying to contrive it or express it or impress it or anything. It's just flowing out. That's beautiful.
Yeah, no, it's I've there's some sort of appearance of surrender, but there's no one to surrender. It's really quite interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, just so yeah, I like what sorry I didn't catch your name, the Englishman with the accent. Malcolm, sorry, yes. Malcolm, I liked what you said. Everything that you shared as well. It's all resonating so deeply tonight. It's lovely. Thank you, everyone.
It is, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's always only the mind that tries to complicate it and make it difficult.
Yeah.
And says, oh, look, I will just look a little bit harder and try a little bit longer or meditate a little bit, and then I will get it. Okay. And it's funny how Zen or Shinsen Ming is saying, great way is not difficult, but neither it is easy. It's neither of it. It's neither difficult nor easy. It's not difficult because it's very, very simple. It's one. It's very easy to actually see it in a moment when you don't conceptualize, when you stop your mind. What's wrong with right now? Nothing. But then it's not easy, he says, because the implementation of it, where all the lingering habit patterns, all the lingering movements, the attention's moving constantly from one thing to the other, and to keep coming back to the recognition that that movement of attention is irrelevant. This is not what you are. And yet it is as it expresses. So it is it as well. It's neither difficult nor is it easy, but it's just what is, as it is. Any judgment anyway on it. But the idea of trying harder or committing more or being more earnest or more sincere or more, they all very, very beautiful, very romantic ideas that may be helpful on the beginning of the way. But ultimately, there's nothing in the hands of individual. There is no way. And that one who is having all that beautiful qualities of character and that sincerity, that one is in the way. That one is imagined. So whether it is imagined as sincere or is imagined as not sincere, it's still just a mask. Because what is sought has never been lost. It's always there, and it can't be grasped because grasping is always happening through the images and thoughts and concepts. And it is non-conceptual. Yeah, it's just too simple to be grasped. And it can't be grasped because this is the grasping.
Yeah, I'm also finding, I love what you just shared, Kat. Yeah, the Byron Katie work's landing a lot here lately around duality, the different concepts. So I used to live in, I don't have enough and I need, and I'm noticing I don't need anything anymore. And as a result, things are just coming to me that have never come before, like money in unexpected ways, people showing up, like sitting more in, I don't need anything. So, yeah, anyway, I'm rabbiting on a bit. I know what I'm trying to say.
That's important too.
Yeah, because this needs nothing. There's nothing. And then things just appear. It's beautiful.
Yeah, Jesus was saying, take no thought for your life. Actually, yeah, take no thought. You don't need to worry. It is whatever the life presents right in this moment is what is needed.
Yeah.
If anything in this moment, obviously not needed because you still exist.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm just noticing more flow and ease, as Bob points out, once the recognition, once the eye is seen through. I can see that it was the thoughts getting in the way of life just flowing with ease. It was thinking that I had to figure it out and I had to work things out, and, you know, a lot of resistance to life just flowing. Yeah.
And it is not being passive. It is not relinquishing any actions or planning or anything. It's really, it's just allowing life to use all of it. You know, if there are skills in the body, the skills will be used.
Yeah, and that's been happening. Yeah, just planning, writing, singing. I don't usually sing, but singing's just happening spontaneously. It's like Bob said earlier tonight, the channels get opened and the life can flow freely through the instrument, the body mind, instead of all the blockages of thoughts getting in the way. Yeah. Not that they were ever in the way, but there was a belief that they were. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, belief takes so much attention, so much.
Yeah.
It becomes so serious, and it becomes that seriousness and that importance. It completely clouds or shadows the aliveness of every moment because it just sucks the attention. Belief is like a little vampire. It just takes the attention completely out of the aliveness.
Mm-hmm.
But when recognized, it becomes fine. What did you call it, Bob? Fingerless tiger?
Mhm.
Oh, yeah. Yes. You just laugh.
All relationships have improved too. They're improving because there's no one here to cause a fight with anyone. And yet, you know, seeming words can get spoken and fighting, whatever, but it doesn't last long. There's nothing to resist it. It's very interesting. I've spent thousands of dollars on workshops before this awareness landed, and always trying to fix the person. And obviously that was part of the appearance anyway, but yeah, it's such a relief to know I don't have to spend money on workshops and healing myself anymore. And yet if something arises that I'm drawn to, well, that's just life pulling me in that direction. But it's not coming from a need, like I was saying before. Yeah, it's very nice. Yeah.
That's freedom. That's the ease flow. And then just like a child being attracted and
Yeah. That's how I feel. Like I'm in a playground of possibilities. Life, anything could happen at any moment. I'm really open to it. Whereas and I always felt I used to be quite resistant to life. Yeah. Isn't that, Bob, isn't that the nature of the I? It just resists what is?
Yeah.
yeah,
And
always.
I sets itself up as a separate entity.
Yep.
Individual or personal, that sense of separation must be in conflict. Yeah.
Yeah.
Me versus the world. It's funny how the me goes away, it goes out of the picture, and the body and the world are completely in harmony. like they always are. The body is always exchanging the air with the world, exchanging the liquids and the solids and everything, constantly interacting with the world. Even the mind, the thinking, are constantly responding to the world, to the environment. They're so interdependent, they're so inseparable.
Yeah.
But there is an idea that there is an I, and I am against the world. I have to change the world. I have to fix the world. And then I have to fix the me. So there is even more of schizophrenia coming into the picture and separation. Yeah. When this one is recognized and laughed at, because it can't be laughed. It's a cosmic joke. To believe that there is a me inside my head or inside my chest or somewhere. And there's I. I have to fix the me. We have to get rid of the I. It's no one there.
Crazy.
Yeah. Like in Course of Miracles, they say the Son of God forgot to laugh. One mother separation of her in the infinity, and the Son of God forgot to laugh. Because the separation is only an idea. It cannot be found unless it is believed into existence, believed so seriously that it becomes almost tangible. But when you stop thinking, where is it?
Okay.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bob. Thanks, Kat.
Thank you all.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Much appreciated. Thank you, Kat.
Megan,
Thank you. Bye-bye. Good night.
Carol, thank you. Thank you, Jasmine.